We have heavy snow moving into the Rockies, and that will set up more of a complicated winter storm for your Thanksgiving, followed by a heavy lake effect snow event, then an Arctic blast to start December. So we got a lot to cover in this update. Out west, they've been just creamed over the last couple of days with very heavy rainfall off the west coast. They're still going to get another wave of energy that's moving into central California, and that's going to spread its precipitation throughout the Rockies with some more heavy snow for your ski lovers out there. And then we have our cold front that moved through. That's the first of three cold fronts. Now it's off the East Coast, but back behind it, they've much drier air, clearer skies, definitely allowed those temperatures to drop this morning. But look at this, folks, out in the tropics. I mean, technically we're still into hurricane season, believe it or not. And there is another little flare up down there into Central America. And yes, the latest guidance has, a small possibility. I don't really think this is going to form, but at least it has a possibility of a 40 or a 50% probability of this could be becoming a tropical depression down there in Central America. So it's likely going to be, if it doesn't form, it has a very small window to form, but if it does in fact form, it's just going to swing over and cross over in the Pacific. But we are watching it if it does actually spin up into a small tropical cyclone. So expanding the view and taking a look at the setup on the surface map, there's the precipitation that's coming in off the west coast, back into the San Francisco area, back into central California there. There's the winter storm warnings taking shape across the Sierras. It's just extremely heavy snow. And then there's the blanket of snow that will clock the Rockies with 1 to 2, if not almost 3 feet of snow throughout Utah and much of Colorado, especially in the mountain ranges. There was your freeze warnings that brought the lowest temperatures of the season for Oklahoma, I think 26 this morning. And then we do have some winter weather advisories and then the small, sporadic showers out ahead of the first cold front. This is the first of 3 cold fronts that will be moving in over the course of the next 7 days. So for tomorrow, it's all about the south wind. So as the south wind comes back around, especially for those areas across the southwest and much of the south, you are going to be seeing those temperatures rapidly warm up from what you're seeing today. But further north, there's that gradient of the colder air mass that's going to be moving across from west to east, and that's going to bring a blanket of snow along its way as we get out of Wednesday and heading into Thursday. And then, of course, further south where they have some higher dew points to work with, they are going to have a little bit of more, instability. The Gulf of Mexico is going to open up a little bit. So that sets the stage for some strong to severe thunderstorms heading into Wednesday and Thursday. But you can see the jet stream, right? It's just draped across the middle part of the country. It essentially moves from west to east. And if you're on that colder side of the jet stream, that's the snowier side of the jet stream. If you're on the southern side of the jet stream, aligned with the Gulf, you're going to be wrapped into those isolated scattered showers, and some of those could in fact turn marginally severe. But check out some of these snow amounts that could unfold across the Rockies. Yes, some locations could pick up easily 1 to 2 feet. I mean, these areas had just had that big time snow event just the last couple of weeks, and this is another really significant snow event, especially for those mountain ranges, for those ski resorts out there. So adding both of those events up, that's pretty substantial totals, over the last 3 or 4 weeks. But yeah, further off into the southeast, there are going to be dealing with some storms that will likely turn severe on a marginal basis. So that means mainly it's going to be a damaging wind event. So some of these could eclipse and that severe weather, severe thunderstorm criteria back into the Jackson region as well as in Birmingham. But scattered showers elongated from Lake Charles to Shreveport, extending along the coast in New Orleans, back into Mobile, and then swinging points further north and back into the Atlanta region. And as we swing into your Thursday for your Thanksgiving, yes, a little bit more widespread event, essentially from New Orleans all the way up to Raleigh. You could be looking at some scattered severe thunderstorms as we bubble up in heat of the afternoon. But further north, we're going to be dealing with some of that snow changing over. So it's a little bit of a complicated, this time of year, of course, the temperature has a lot to do with it. And we could even have dynamic cooling come into play. If that happens, then this storm could definitely overachieve. So we could see snow starting to fly back into Wednesday night, starting from Illinois, swinging into Indiana, especially as you creep into Ohio, getting into Pennsylvania, as the low starts to deepen going into your Thursday, Thanksgiving morning. Then we got the cross-polar flow, right? So this is your second cold front that will come in. Finally, we got some, colder air. The coldest air of the season will be coming out of Canada and diving southbound from northwest to southeast. And as it does, it's going to drop those temperatures again. So where you rapidly warm up on Wednesday across the south, you're rapidly going to cool down again as we head into Wednesday night, especially throughout the day on Thursday. More of a raw day, a cloudy day, a windy day, and definitely a chilly day, while they'll be dealing with all the snow up here into New York, back into Pennsylvania, as well, it's parts of Pennsylvania and areas of, especially into Vermont and New Hampshire, getting into the Maine region as the low continues to remain offshore. So it's likely going to be all rain along the coastal regions, and then all snow, more of a kind of a heavier, wet snow. And some of these amounts could definitely overachieve, especially where places where they could get that dynamic cooling aspect that could take shape. But what happens on the backside, once those winds turn back around, these lakes are plenty warm, and it's starting to appear we could be looking at a significant lake effect snow event coming off the lakes of Michigan back into the Upper Peninsula here, through the Great Lakes here. So some of these areas could easily pick up, 1 to 2 feet of snow along the lakes here, that, starting on getting in on Friday, Saturday, and into the weekend. But there's the temperatures on that second cold front that comes in Thursday night. By the time we clear out again on Friday morning, we're looking at more of a widespread freeze. This is the first widespread freeze of the season. That's about 74% of the nation would likely wake up with a freeze 32 degrees or lower. And some of these are actually single digits, if not below zero, back up into the Dakotas. So it definitely gets cold. And this is the second cold front, and likely the third one would be your coldest. So this is your second cold front that's going to be over the next 7 days. So as we go beyond that, getting into your weekend, there's your polar lobe coming out of the Arctic, bringing the coldest anomalies of the season back over some of those areas that did see the snow. But back through the Ohio Valley, getting through Pennsylvania, and this swings back into Kentucky, further southbound in Tennessee, and then eventually I think this is going to be swinging all the way down into the southeast. You can definitely see the cross-polar flow, right? Essentially goes from northwest to southeast. You've got the ridge out west, so much of the west coast will be missing out on this Arctic blast, and much of the central and eastern 2/3 will be getting this, and then kind of a glancing blow for the middle part of the country. But yes, the brunt of it is going to be highlighted over the Ohio Valley, the Tennessee Valley, the Mid-Atlantic, and then points southbound through the Carolinas, eventually down even into the southeast and down into Florida. So going into Sunday, we'll have that second system come through. That's when we'll have some snow sink further south. Places like Tennessee, places like into Kentucky should start to see some snow by then, as that freeze line creeps a little bit further south into the southeast going in on Sunday. But overall, this is what we're looking at for a Thanksgiving weekend Arctic blast that comes through. It's a kind of a step down process. So further north, wind chills will be well below zero back to the Dakotas, back into the Twin Cities regions, through Chicago. And then, of course, the lake effect snow, that's going to be a huge concern starting from Friday all the way through Sunday. And then, of course, you got the dangerously cold wind chills of -20 below is not out of the question. Here's your wind chills possibly as we start the month of December, waking up Yeah, that's widespread 20s below zero up there in Canada that sneaks across the Dakotas through Minnesota. But where the snow would likely fly, we're going to be single digit wind chill. So it's going to be pretty cold, right? This is definitely the coldest. Your body really hasn't adapted to this cold shot of air just as yet, so it's definitely going to be feeling colder than what it may feel like in the middle of January, because our bodies are just not used to this type of cold as of yet with this first shot of winter. But yes, those wind chills drop well into the 20s, even going into Sunday down into the southeast. And right now the Climate Prediction Center is more confident of saying, hey, we could be looking at a moderate if not high risk for well below average temperatures all the way down into Alabama, into Georgia, and even the Florida Panhandle. So based on typically where you are this time of year, yeah, a high risk of well below temperature anomalies with that third cold front coming in and the Arctic air sinking all the way down into the deep south. So would likely be into that second and third time frame. But those are some pretty cold anomalies highlighted over Kentucky, Tennessee, back into the areas of Mississippi, Georgia, getting into the Carolinas, but going all the way down into Florida. Yeah, even Florida could actually wake up with a freeze by the time we come into next Tuesday with those colder temperatures, you know, dipping all the way down into the 20s, well into the southeast. So yeah, even places like in the Florida Panhandle could actually see a freeze before, say, places like in Dallas could actually see a freeze. So pretty unusual as we head into the month of December. So guys, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video, definitely hit the subscribe button, and catch the next update. Wire protect you before and after storm.